makers, I'm excited to get to talk to you today about this piece that I made for the Holtz Idea-ology Christmas 2022 release. And this is using the new holiday clock that is a bright, shiny clock, and I just love it. It has such a retro feel to me. And so because of that, I was inspired to make a window. I wanted this to be like a department store window piece, and so it does light up. So let me get that turned on. So it does light up, and then you can see that I have in here quite a few things. Trees, I have the new snow globe. I used some of the new droplets, the tinsel, snowflakes, baubles, and so I want to talk through this with you a little bit at the end of the video, but I'm going to apologize right away because the Christmas tutorials for the 3 Idea-ology makes that I made are a little bit haphazard, and so I apologize ahead of time. I haven't seen them yet because I haven't edited them, but I just know that my making process was very chaotic. And so I feel like the tutorials are going to be a little bit chaotic as well, and they're very messy. I didn't clean up my desk at all when I was sharing with you. So again, I apologize, but you get to see the making in progress and kind of in reality as it really is, with just kind of the mess. So I made all 3 of my projects at the same time, but this one I finished last because there were just some, I just kept changing my mind. So I really like how it ended up turning out. So let's get started, and I will talk you through the beginning process of it, and then I'll come back and I'll talk to you about how it ended up. I'm going to update you on a couple of the projects that I'm working on. So as you can see from my incredibly messy work surface, I have 3 different things in progress right now. And so I know that the tutorials for all 3 of these Christmas Idea-ology projects are going to be a little bit crazy because I am working on things and waiting for things to dry. And so I have to videotape when I'm doing it. So anyway, I apologize ahead of time for how crazy these videos are going to be, but you know, if you just kind of take a look at this, you can see why it's an absolute disaster. But let's just hope it all turns out okay. One of the many projects I'm working on at the same time is this department store window clock. And so I had ideas, and those aren't exactly working out. So let me share with you one of those ideas so that you can understand kind of the size of this, and that you can't fit a whole lot of things in this. So if you're just if you're like me and you kind of dream up the stuff without it being in front of you, you know, sometimes there's a problem with that. So I liked that there were these Christmas tree ornaments things in this is the baseboard and this is the ephemera. And I just thought it would be really cool to kind of have this across and then have some different Christmas tree ornaments and decorations and things for sale in a department store window. But in so doing, I thought, oh, you know what? I'll take these matchboxes and I'm going to cut out and I'm going to put a bunch of baubles in there like a Christmas tree ornament, but it's huge, okay, compared to the clock. So it's not going to really, I mean, I'll have one thing of ornaments. So that's kind of silly. So then I cut it in half and I thought, okay, so I cut the little thing out and I covered it with the plaid design tape, but it's still huge and kind of takes up a lot of space. So I'm not sure that this part of the ornament thing is going to happen. The main thing that I want to put in the window is I want to have a tree. And so I am attempting to make a tree out of the tinsel because I wanted this to be kind of very retro. So I'm working on how to make a tree out of tinsel. And so all I have is the tree like stump. That's all I have right now. So I'm going to try and figure out if I can just kind of twist some of this around and make it look like one of those 50s trees out of tinsel. And in the meantime, the other thing that I am absolutely going to put in is this amazing snow globe. So I want that in here. So I did make a little tree out of the tinsel just to go in there. And I think that worked pretty well. And it's just 3 pieces, about 1 inch long, of the tinsel that I twisted together really tightly at the top and then just let it kind of poof out at the bottom. So I think that will go really well down here. So make some of the small baubles to stick onto that. And that is going to be one of my centerpieces here. And then if I can't figure out how to get this tree, I will just work with one of the other trees that we have. And I'm also going to be doing something on the back. I thought these might be really cool. And I haven't decided if I'm going to use the colored ones or the metallic ones. I'm leaning towards the metallic, but I'm thinking of putting some sort of course, paper in the back. And then I want to put these kind of going down and up in straight lines because it kind of feels like mid-century modernish to me to do that with these little half circles. And I may throw in a couple of, these are in my cupcake tin, so forgive me. I may throw in some of the stars as well in between if I use the silver and gold, because I just feel like that is very mid-century modern. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. And to decorate the outside, I added this because I felt like that was a little, this particularly red and whatever plaid, different types of tartan and plaid that we have going on here. And that's almost gingham-y to me, but I thought that was kind of mid-century also, so I went ahead and put that around there. I'm not sure I'm going to leave it, but it sticks so beautifully to this clock, and it's really fun. I'm just not sure it's going to go with the inside once I get the inside done, so we'll have to see about that. So, this is going to be the department store clock, and I haven't done too much to the clock yet, other than I already showed you I did this, and I'm not sure I'm going to keep it. We'll see, because I might. And I might end up using this to kind of cover the front of the window, or up this way to cover the front of the window. So we'll see how I end up using this, because I might go ahead and use that for the shelf on the window. And then once I get the flat area, I have been working on the snow globe. So the snow globe, I put foundry wax in gold on that. So the gold foundry wax, gilded, sorry. And so I put that to try and bring out some of the detail, the amazing detail in this piece. For such a tiny little snow globe, that's really amazing. And then I went ahead and I put some of the Snowfall grit paste in the center of it, and I wanted to let that dry because I used the tinsel and I made a little tree, and then I stuck on it 2 of the tiniest of those glass stars, and then I need to stick those together a little bit better. They came apart, so I'm going to need to glue those together a little bit better there in the top. And then I'm going to attach that to the snow in the center and decorate this little, this little sparkly tree that will be going in the snow globe. And so that's just the tinsel, the wired tinsel. So it will be going in there like that. Let's talk about an update on the clock. As you know, with the clocks, this part comes out and you can use it or not. And in my Hobbit hole make, I took it out and I attached it to the back of the clock, remember, and used it as the door to the Hobbit house. Today, I want to keep this in the piece, and mine was already falling out, so I attached it with some distressed collage medium, and then you can see that I went around it with hot glue because I have my hot glue gun out. When I make something in a clock, I like to have it flat so that I have kind of a surface to work with. And so to do that, what I do is I use this foam. And I have a whole bunch of them in the drawer here next to me. This is the foam that comes in between the large vignette tray and the small vignette tray. And I use a lot of them, so I always save these because I can cut them. They cut very easily with the craft knife, the Tim's Tonic craft knife, and it just cuts through very, very easily. So you can, you know, cut whatever shapes you want. And as you can see with this one, I've trimmed it down, and then I even actually cut it thinner. So it's, I cut off about maybe 1/4 of an inch on this to make it thinner. And then I'm going to glue gun this into the bottom of the clock. And then to extend it, I cut a piece of chipboard that looks like this. So it's the right width, but you need to kind of trim these to go up toward the front of the clock, because you can see the face, it kind of is beveled in. So it will end up looking something like this. And then you can see there's just a little bit left over here that I would need to cover up with something. And I was considering covering it up with this, but I think I have, I think the idea of what I was going to do here will actually cover it up without me having to put anything else in there. So before you attach this, you need to do anything on the front part of the clock or on the walls that you want to do before you start attaching this. And for me, that's going to be tiny lights. So I am going to attach tiny lights around in here. And then I'll have the, so this will be in here. And so I will have the wire, the back wire coming out this way. And then I'm just going to, on this clock, have it go out the back and probably just stick it on with foam dots to the back. But on the last one, I used my Dremel and I drilled a hole through the bottom of the clock, and I threaded the wires up and around the lights. And then I left the battery pack on the bottom to turn on and off. I don't think I'm going to go to that trouble this time. I think I'll just go ahead and have them hang out the back. So I don't want to put this in until I get that done. And then to cover up the lights or kind of diffuse them just a little bit, I will use some of this, and I'm going to put that around the inside of the clock. And it is wired. And then what you'll see is it's going to cover up, I think this will just cover up that part I was worried about. So I'll just kind of put it around like that, and it'll just be kind of fun and decorative. I want this to kind of be a little bit reminiscent of a 50s department store. So that's kind of my thought. And I've probably already said that several times. So let me get started on getting my lights in, and then getting my base in and my tinsel. That's going to take me a little while before I can start decorating. And most of the decoration goes on the back, and then you stand it up and you can start decorating the things inside. So let me get going on that. The most recent update on the clock is that I do have the lights in, and I got the tinsel on. So the lights are inside around and the tinsel, and so you can't really see it very well from the front, but if you have something on there, they do shine. So that's working fine. And then I have it coming out here, and you can see that I kind of bent that down, the lip down, so that the wire can kind of come out. I added some of the droplets, the larger silver droplets, to kind of tie in, and I may put some around here also. One of the main reasons I wanted to use the droplets on this project was that I had kind of imagined for the back of the clock, I wanted this to be like a 50s mid-century department store. And in thinking about that, I was kind of thinking of the kind of metallic, and of course the tinsel was a big inspiration for that. And so then I thought, you know, this might be my chance to use the Deco sheets. I rarely use them, and so I thought this would be a fun project to use Deco sheets and the droplets, which are two things I haven't used very much. So I took the silver, so the Deco sheets come in quite a few colors, as you can see, and you get several of each color. And so I tried the gold and I also tried the red on the back in this, and they were both a little too dark to be a whole background for what I wanted to do, but I did use them, and I'll show you in a second. But my background idea was to take this and to trace it and then cut out a cut out a cardstock piece that would fit inside. Once I had it cut, then I went ahead and peeled the sticky back off of the Deco sheets and I adhered them to the cardstock, and then I sewed in 1/2 inch strips with gold metallic thread. So that's gold metallic thread, and I stitched all the way down there every 1/2 inch. And it's not perfect, and that's okay. Again, I'm fine with all of that. I like the way it looks. And so I was just trying to kind of mimic how sometimes in department stores they have things that hang. And so I thought this was the best way to mimic that. And then I took the droplets in all the different sizes and I separated them, and then I put them so that it looked like they were maybe kind of hanging down on those stitched lines. And so that was kind of my inspiration behind that. So I have gold, silver, gold, silver, gold, and I kind of if you look closely, you can see that they are a little bit closer together the farther that you go out. There are 3 under the sign. The sign is a piece of ephemera from the Christmas pack, and then I matted it with a piece of the gold deco that I put on a piece of cardstock, and then the red deco glitter. So I did bring those in. So this will be on the back of my clock piece like this, and then it lights up just like that. And so I really like that. Now the main focal point of the piece is going to be this beautiful new snow globe, and so that's going to be in there. And then I was trying to figure out what else I wanted to put in, so I decided to go ahead and put in some trees, and so I have them drying right now. So all 3 of the trees, I put some foundry wax on them, and so it has a little bit of metal that shows through, and then also, oops, sorry. So foundry wax, and then metal, and then you probably can hear my cat outside the door. And then I added some platinum stickles also onto there to give them a little bit of the gold sheen showing through. And I did not color the trees at all. I left them the natural cream color because I wanted the gold and the Christmas ornaments to show. And so on the large one, once it dries, I think I'm going to decorate with these. These are my favorite. I absolutely love them. So I think I'll decorate with this one, and then maybe some of the baubles, maybe some of the red. I mean, I keep calling them baubles. But yes, probably I'll dye some red baubles to put on there to kind of tie in. And then, you know, maybe leave some pearl or maybe do some silver. So I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm going to keep this fairly simple because I want the focus to be on the background and on the snowflakes and on the snow globe, and also on the awesome clock and the background work that I did. So I don't want to get too much going on and miss, you know, some of the work that I did in the background. So I do want to make sure that that's a focal point. And then the last thing that I'm going to point out is that down here, I will be putting a holiday wishes sign on there. So that's where that will go. All right, so here is the finished product that I know you already saw at the beginning, and I do really like it. So I ended up putting that word plaque, I put some foundry wax in gold on it, and then I put some of the platinum stickles on it as well. I added a few droplets here. I have my droplets here on the edges to just add a little interest to it. And then I had that fabric tape that goes all the way around, and it really sticks on there and doesn't go anywhere. So, and I think that kind of has a cool retro mid-century feel to it as well. Now on the inside, I showed you how I made that backdrop with sewing the deco sheets and then adding the droplets to it, making a little frame for the sign from the ephemera pack, the Christmas ephemera pack with the gold and red deco sheets. And then I took a full-sized tree and cut it down. So I cut probably a good 1.5 inches off the bottom of the large tree, and I stuck that in there so you can see that, and then decorated it up a little bit with some baubles and some of those snowflakes. I love the snowflakes kind of peeking out there, and then in the back, and then a few of the gold droplets I also added in there. Over here we have the medium and the small trees, and on all 3 trees I think I showed you that I added the foundry wax to the tips of them, of all of them, heated it, and then went over it with some more platinum stickles. And I really liked how it just kind of gave it kind of a sparkly, I don't know, almost metallic flocked look to them. So in the back corner, I took one of the snowflakes and I cut off the little loop that I have thread tied through on these. And over here, I cut off the loop and I used it as the star on top of the medium tree. And I just decorated it with several different sizes of droplets. And then the small one, I just decorated with a few small silver droplets. And then I showed you all along how I added some foundry wax and stickles to the base of the snow globe, and then I made that little tree just by twisting some of the tinsel into a tree shape, adding some droplets, some stickles, and then stickles on that little star that's at the top. And so it doesn't show up too well, I don't think, on the camera, but it shows up much better in person. And then there's some glitter down there in the bottom. And I think that's pretty much everything that I added on this one. I have my little, the tiny lights in the back. And so, like I said at the beginning, it does turn off and turn on. And I actually like it both ways. I kind of like the cool silver look of it when it's not lit. And then I do like that kind of gold warm sheen that it adds when you have the light on. So 2 totally different metallic feels with the lights on and with the lights off. So that is my Deco clock, and I didn't put anything to cover the batteries on this one other than just stuck it on with a foam, little foam dot, and nobody will be seeing it anyway. So I hope that you enjoyed this chaotic tutorial, and I encourage you, if you have any questions or if I didn't make anything clear in the chaos of the making, and me being in the moment, then please do contact me through my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com. I will be very happy to answer or clarify anything for you to the best of my ability. And I thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a very creative day.